to Bharat at Cannes. We are in Cannes, the famous city on the French Riviera where the Cannes Film Festival is on. And this is a special broadcast on DD India that brings you all the buzz from the festival and India's participation in it. So let's get started. India organized a Bharat Parv for the first time at the Cannes Film Festival. It was a networking event where India showcased its opportunities, talent and its diverse cuisine. It was a gala evening for India at Cannes on Thursday. A fusion of Indian cinema, music, cultures and cuisine, and so a celebration of India's diversity. Flanked by Indian celebrities, actors, singers and filmmakers, Secretary, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting in the Government of India, Sanjay Jaju, released the poster and trailer of the upcoming 55th edition of IFFI, or International Film Festival of India in Goa, to be held from 20th to 28th November this year. Save the date poster and trailer of Waves, the first World Audiovisual and Entertainment Summit, was also released. Waves will be organized on 30th November 2024 alongside IFFI in Goa.
It's only save the date, 20th November 2024, Goa. So you have the International Film Festival of India and you have the first of its kind World Audiovisual and Entertainment Summit happening in Goa. All of you esteemed guests, you are welcome to Goa and India.
Indian singers Sunanda Sharma, Shan and 3 Gen Z performers made it a musical evening to remember. All in all, the Bharat Parv at Cannes celebrated the diverse tapestry of Indian cinema, its myriad tunes and cuisine inspired by all the 4 corners of Bharat. The gala evening had all the ingredients of a mini India away from home. With cameraman YK Loknath, Munman Bhattacharya, DD India, Cannes. The most successful Indian producer in Hollywood, Ashok Amritraj, came to the Bharat Pavilion at the Cannes Film Festival. I spoke to him about his transition from tennis to Hollywood decades ago and how he sees the future of Indian cinema. Take a look. India's most successful producer in Hollywood, Ashok Amritraj, is right here with us in Cannes. Ashok ji, such a pleasure to have you. It's totally a privilege to have you on DD India. Welcome to DD India. Welcome to Cannes. Let me begin by asking you that it's sometimes difficult to imagine how you made your transition from a tennis champ to a film producer, and such a successful one at that in Hollywood. Tell us about that.
Well, you know, growing up in India, first of all, one of the greatest upbringings, one of the most extraordinary times to grow up. You know, it was in the 60s and 70s, and my mother was very insistent on us going out and playing. So we went out and played tennis, my brothers and I, and then that kind of took me around the world, played in Wimbledon, and reached the finals of the Wimbledon Juniors. And a gentleman called Jerry Buss, who had watched me playing, brought me out to California. Coming to California, you know, it was such a dream come true in many ways. I visited all the studios and all of that at that time. Always knew the entertainment business was where I was going to end up, just didn't know when. In 1978, we won the World Team Tennis Championships. And then the early 80s, I decided to make the switch. Not easy, I will say, knocked on a lot of doors. Everybody pretty much wanted to play tennis with me, but nobody wanted to make a movie with me, right? So I played in a lot of bad tennis games with a lot of very powerful people. And then in 1984, I met a young man who came up to the office, couldn't speak English very well. And he said, "We make movie together?" And I said, "Sure, why not?" And we ran around to the studios. We got thrown out of everywhere. And many years later, 1990, right here at the Cannes Film Festival, at the Carlton Hotel, this kid comes running up to me and he says, you know, Ashok, out of 800 photographs I sent out, I got only one call back, and that was you. We should make a movie together. And so we make this movie called Double Impact, which we made for $11 million, went on to gross over 150. And, everybody kind of remembers my name after that, and Jean-Claude's as well. It was Jean-Claude Van Damme. So that was sort of a decade of transition, which everybody said, oh, you made it overnight. Wasn't quite that way, but it all worked out.
Absolutely. So 120 films that have grossed over $2 billion in 40 years, but that didn't happen overnight, like you said. It took at least a decade to establish yourself there. Now, tell us about how you took Indian cinema and Indian actors to Hollywood. Tell us about how Rajnikant was cast in the movie that you produced, Bloodstone.
Yeah, it was mid-80s. There hadn't even been much of a thought about US and India collaborating on a film. So I decided to do that. Rajnikant was a family friend, as he is still, and his wife Lata and the girls and so on. And so it was amazing that Rajni wanted to do the film, and that we were able to collaborate together. Wonderful actor, most professional, absolutely terrific to work with, and the movie was quite a success. And he did all his tricks that he does on screen so well. The charming man that he is. And so I did that, and then some years later, in the early 90s, I wanted to make an Indian language film, so decided to do it in Tamil. And there was a director called Shankar, who's gone on to great things, who pitched a project called Genes, which we ended up doing, and Aishwarya was coming right off of Miss World when I signed her. Rahman did the music, all of which was fantastic. Movie was a great hit, and as well, it was India's selection for the Oscars in 1998. We shot one song in the Seven Wonders of the World, which was quite extraordinary, actually. I remember when the director came to me and said he wanted to do it, and I said, you know what, let's go to Warner Brothers and I'll get you all the Seven Wonders there on a green screen. And he said, no, sir, we should go and shoot around the world, and we did, and turned out to be an amazing song. Of course, Rahman's music always lives on, and it was a super experience. But it's always been great to go back and forth between India and Hollywood, despite 120 movies, as you say. And it's been an amazing career with great actors, with the Stallones and the Angelina Jolies of the world as well. So I've been very blessed.
Ashokji, tell us about the perception that was there of Indian cinema when you just started out there in Hollywood, and the kind of perception that is there now of it.
Well, when I started in Hollywood, all of this talk about cinema and being brown and all of it was just, nobody even knew where India was at that point. It was one of these things where I would go to a studio executive meeting, and when I would say to him, I'm going to India next week, he'd say, I love India, but which part of India is Singapore in? They knew so little about it. It was unbelievable. So today we are in a very different place. I think India is a global power. I think India is going to be a superpower. I think we should use the motion picture industry and the television industry coming out of India to influence the rest of the world. I think we should use the power that it has over youngsters around the world today, that they haven't yet seen that side of India. They haven't, they watch Slumdog Millionaire and they watch some of the other movies, but I think there's the things going on in India today should be portrayed through film and television across the world. And, I hope that, and I think people like myself and others have a responsibility as well, I think, today going forward over the next 10 to 20 years to partner with India in a big way, but to make a real statement.
So what are the current projects that you are working on, and does India figure anywhere?
Yeah, certainly we are developing stuff that we want to do in India. We are having discussions with certainly the streamers. We will be doing things in India almost certainly next year. But I think I would like to build a larger platform out of India globally, do something quite large. So we are working on a few ideas, and let's see how it goes.
Ashokji, towards the end, what do you think it'll take India to be the cinematic destination for the world, like we see Hollywood today? How long do you think India will take to reach such a position, and what will it take to reach there?
Listen, first of all, it's not as if Hollywood is the only destination, right? Hollywood is almost like a frame of mind these days. It's almost like a place. Most of the movies are shot in England, or shot in other parts of the world at Pinewood Studios. My friend Barbara Broccoli shoots her Bond movies at Pinewood. There are other movies shot around the world. Tom Cruise does his movies all over the place. So Hollywood is sort of a mindset, right? So I think we have to build an Indian sort of global mindset, which we don't have yet. The Indian shows seem to be for India or for the Indian diaspora around the world, who already know a lot about India. I think we can create programming that can travel across all cultures and across all generations. So I think we should do that.
Leave it at that. Enjoy your time here in Cannes. Thank you, Ashokji, for speaking to us on DD India. So that was Hollywood producer Ashok Amritraj talking to us about his personal journey and transition from a one-time tennis player to, of course, a very established Hollywood producer, and what he thinks of India as the cinematic destination of the world in the coming years. Riding high on the popularity of Hira Mandi OTT series, Taha Badusha came visiting the Bharat Pavilion, and I spoke to him on Hira Mandi and a lot more. Take a listen. Taha, welcome to Doordarshan India, welcome to Cannes. How has your experience been? Your first time in Cannes?
And Doordarshan has been so kind to have me and, call me out here in Cannes and actually have an interview. It is my first time. It's very, very exciting. And not only that, it's such an incredible place to meet such incredible people from all over the world who just love cinema. So it really feels like my next home. I would love to just keep coming here every year.
From Love Ka The End, where you debuted, to Hira Mandi, how has the journey been?
It has been from Love Ka The End to Hira Mandi, and now it's just the beginning. And I feel like it's my second innings has just started. Love Ka The End has been about 14 years ago, and from then till now I have faced a lot of trepidation, and a lot of turbulence, a lot of obstacles. But during all of this, it's my mother's steadfastness and my family's thorough belief in me. And of course, I have tried to, swim in the deep end as hard as possible, and I keep hitting my arms and legs just to try and survive. Mumbai is not an easy city, and it doesn't really accept everybody, but when it does accept, it accepts you with open arms. And I believe that Hira Mandi has given me that opportunity only because of the greatest filmmaker of our world, Sanjay Leela Bhansali, because without him, I would never be here, and I am so grateful. And trust me, I would live in his feet. I would live at his feet.
So Hira Mandi can be watched in 190 odd countries where Netflix is available. So is that giving you a global audience?
It's giving us more than a global audience. I can't even fathom the amount of love that is coming in. I was walking by just yesterday here, and a lot of French students, girls, boys, they've watched Hira Mandi and they actually recognized me as Tajdar Baloch, and they're like, Tajdar. And it was so heartwarming because, to see love flowing in from France, from Spain, from Africa, and so many people just kind of recognizing you and loving your performance, the craft that you kind of bring to the screen and touching so many people's hearts. It's nothing less than a miracle and a blessing. And I'm just really humble and really just grateful that Netflix has given me this opportunity to, because with OTT platforms coming in, like you said, 190 countries, you can't release a movie in that many countries. But for, all thanks to Netflix, today we are all across the globe, trending #1 in so many countries. And just a big thank you to Netflix, Netflix India and Netflix USA.
Here in Cannes, what do you plan to do? Do you plan to watch movies, network? What is on the agenda?
Yeah. I really wish I could sit down and watch movies, but because I love movies, I would love to watch. But the thing is that this place has so much throbbing energy. I just can't sit down. There are so many stalls just right behind us. Just look at that. Just look at this. I mean, until your eyes reach, there are people and there's stalls and there's different countries. So no, for me, networking is like my pulse. It really gives me a high. And I'm so grateful that now, because of such an incredible project, I can introduce myself with this project in my hand, and people are much more receptive. Before, I used to do a lot of, I guess I used to even lie, and I would make up things to try and get into places, try and meet people. But God has been so kind, and I'm just so humbled.
We are standing right now at the Bharat Pavilion, and you've been a frequent visitor here. So tell us, how does it feel to be part of a little India here in Cannes?
I would like to say, first of all, that Fiki, NFTC, Sanjay Jhaju sir, Leena Jaswani, Vishal, Hema, all these people have been tremendously helpful. They've become like my family. They not even look at me like, oh, he's, an actor or he's a star from Hiramandi. No, like literally they're treating me like a child. They're treating me like their own son, their own brother. And, I'm feeling very, 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 very grateful that, such incredible love is coming from the India Pavilion, because they are here promoting not only India, but all our creative artists and filmmakers. And they're really, really trying to put out different panels, and they're trying to bring in different countries into India Pavilion. So it makes it easier for all of us to network with them and try and, incorporate co-productions and different forms of activities across the film genre. So I'm just very thankful that India has such an incredible stall, by the way, very beautifully made, and they're really, really helpful. My last year, 2023, was the first year I went to IFFI, and I actually, again, I made myself go through the red carpet in a very, nobody knew I would walk the red carpet, but I kind of walked in, and then I actually met Catherine Zeta-Jones and Michael Douglas, and somehow I landed up in the front row of the IFFI Film Festival, and I was with Shekhar Kapoor sir, and I was with Hariharan, and I was with so many stars and the Chief Minister, and I didn't really have an invite, and I'm going to accept it. But this year they said that I'm going to be hosting, so I definitely want to go and support IFFI and support all our film festivals in India and push it out globally as much as possible. And as far as MIF is concerned, I believe that Mumbai International Film Festival is an incredible and a magical experience to have for every filmmaker across India and in fact, not only India, globally. And, with international films coming in and having international jury members, I think it's become a worldwide festival. And for me to be a small part of it would be an incredible honor, and I hope that I really do get to be there and be a big part of it instead of just a small part.
Any glimpse you would like to give us about any of the projects that you're currently working on or you plan to work on?
I have actually signed a few projects. I wish I could be open about it, but the thing is that Hiramandi is just going to kind of wash over everything at the moment. So I believe that Hiramandi is in focus, and I just want to push Hiramandi out, which is on Netflix, released, trending, and we'll stick to that. And as soon as the producers give me a green signal, I would love to share the rest of the projects with you. So thank you.
How are filmmakers taking the benefit of the incentive scheme offered by the Government of India? This conversation will tell you that. Joining me in Cannes is Alan McCallix. He is the Indian producer of Santosh as well as Sister Midnight, both of which are official selections from India in the Cannes Film Festival this year. Such a pleasure to have you, Alan, on DD India. Tell us about your experience producing both these projects.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for having me here. To start with Santosh, in fact, when the script was in the Sundance Script Lab, I believe Paul Featherbush at the Institute had pitched the story. But that time I was quite burnt out with producing quite a few of independent films. I did quite a bit then in 2016. And then Sandhya managed to get UK producer, and they reached out to me in 18. I met them at the market at the EFM, and I was not too sure. Yes, no. But I was helping them with whatever they wanted in India. But it was until when I was filming another production in London, I met Sandhya and Diamit, the executive producer, then again. And I realized when I was giving them suggestions on who they can work with and stuff like that, but I never read the script, I never knew it. But then they told me to read it, and that's when I realized it was such a powerful script, and I just said yes. I said yes, I'll do it. Let's do it, and that's what happened in 2022. Is when we said yes, and then I met the rest of the UK producers, Mike Goodrich and James Balthazar from Good Chaos, and and then that's when the journey started.
So that's about Santosh. What about Sister Midnight?
Well, that's very interesting. Actually, Alistair Clark from Wellington Films, I was pitching Liar's Dice and it was in Toronto during TIFF. There was something called the International Finance Forum, and I was in the market pitching Liar's Dice to raise money. And Al was there with another project, and that's when we met, and we said that someday we would collaborate on something that would come up, and it happened 12 years later. That was back in 2010 when I met Alistair Clark, and he remembered because he had a project in India, and we met the same time when I was meeting Sandhya, and the next day I met Al, and I immediately said he had an idea, and I said yes, let's do it. And a few months later I organized an initial scout to get an understanding. I met Karan for the first time in London, Karan Kandari, the director of Sister Midnight, and we hit it off. Months later, we got it greenlit by Film 4 and BFI, and it's all, then it all happened.
What I found quite interesting is that both these movies have taken benefit of the incentive scheme of the Government of India. So tell us, how did that happen, and what are the incentives that these two films enjoy?
Yeah. Yes, the incentive was announced in May 2022 out here in Cannes, and it was in 22, end of the 22 is when we decided to get into production, and I had no clue, if this money is real. Nobody in the UK side also was sure. So we never used this incentive as part of the finance plan. We always thought, okay, it's a bonus that would come in at later in the production. But then since the budget was quite tight, we didn't want to cut the budget, so we took a risk of using certain expenses deferred on the incentive. And yes, we finally got money on both the projects in March 2020. This year, March 2024. I would say Santosh took 3 months from the time we applied, and same with Sister Midnight, took a little longer. It was our first project, so we understood the paperwork, we understood the documentation. But yes, it is real. Now, if everyone asks me, is this money real? And I keep telling them now, it is real. We got the money, and that's how and thanks to NFDC, the Film Facilitation Office, and the Ministry of Information and Broadcast, they made it all seamless.
So you got the cash back of 40% of the production cost?
Yeah, so last year, it was until 2023 November is when they announced a new incentive, which is 3.3 million. Mine was the 3.3 million USD. My projects were in the previous incentive, which was capped at 365,000. So we got that, yes. And we have applied for 2 other projects for the new incentive, so let's see.
And you are here to see the Cannes Film Festival and also do some business in the Cannes film market. Your first time in Cannes, isn't it? And what is the kind of business that you are looking forward to doing here?
We are working on a French co-production first. I'm meeting a lot of French producers who wanted to figure out how to get things going. But there's a film that we got CNC funding, Cinema du Monde. It's a film called Eka by a first-time director, Suman Sen. So we're trying to hopefully tie that. We're also doing another adaptation of a British series. So we're meeting our partners all in Cannes and trying to lock all the deals. Yeah.
How has your experience been, broadly speaking, when it comes to facilitations by the Film and Facilitation Office for the various projects that you've done in the past?
Well, it's been amazing. Before the FFO was established, things were like really slow. It took months to get script clearances, other permits, and FFO made it very seamless. Now you submit a script, it just takes probably 4 weeks to get a clearance. You submit the budget, it takes 3 weeks to get your pre-approvals. They not only help in the permits, they also help in the visa process because, say, in Suitable Boy, we had crew across many countries. They are in touch with, they get in touch with in the Indian embassies in other countries to help get the visas going. Sometimes some of the projects are last minute and they do us the favors to get those visas for certain actors that we casted suddenly. And in addition to that, they also help in custom clearances when we bring the goods from abroad. And along with that, the thing is the permissions. We recently shot something in Himachal, close to the border of China, which is a high restricted area. They helped clearances with the Ministry of Home Affairs, which is always tough for me to go directly, but the Film Facilitation Office is like a body that you can help get these things going. Yeah.
We'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for speaking to us, Alan. So there you heard from the horse's mouth itself, from an Indian film producer, on how they have benefited from an incentive scheme that has been offered by the Government of India in 2022. And both the projects, Santosh as well as Sister Midnight, which are part of official selections, have actually benefited from that incentive scheme. That's it in this edition of Bharat at Cannes. We'll see you again tomorrow with more action from the 77th Cannes Film Festival and India's participation in it. Until then, goodbye and thanks for watching.